The council room of the Valorian Empire was filled with important people. They sat in tall chairs, made of crystal and metal. Their purple and blue skin glowed softly in the light. These were the leaders who made decisions for 12 different star systems. Today they were laughing. "Send her to the humans," said council leader Vexthar. He was old, with silver marks on his face that showed his age and power. "It will be funny." The other council members nodded and smiled. They thought it was a good joke. "Princess Lyra cannot have children," said another council member named Zara. "She is useless to us." But the humans do not know this. They will think we honor them with a royal princess. "The humans helped us win the war against the Krell," Vexthar said. "We must give them something. But we do not need to give them something valuable." More laughter filled the room. Princess Lyra had lived 23 years. For most of those years, she had been hidden away. In Valorian culture, the ability to have children was everything. It showed you were strong. It showed you were worthy. Without it, you were nothing. Lyra had been tested when she was young. The doctors said she could never have babies. From that day, her life changed. She was moved from the main palace to a small building far away. Her family stopped visiting her. Other Valorians looked away when they saw her. She spent her time alone, reading books and studying plants from different worlds. Nobody cared what she did. Nobody expected anything from her, until the day they called her to the council room. Lyra stood before the council in her simple dress. She kept her eyes down, as she had been taught. Defective Valorians should not look at important people directly. "Princess Lyra," Vexthar said. His voice was not kind. "We have decided to honor you with an important task." Lyra said nothing. She waited. "You will marry Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. This will make our alliance with the humans stronger." Lyra's heart beat faster. She knew what this meant. They were sending her away. They were giving her to the humans like an unwanted gift. "I understand," she said quietly. "You will leave in 3 days. Pack your things. Take only 2 servants with you." Even her servants were limited. A real princess would have 20 attendants. But Lyra was not a real princess. Not anymore. 3 days later, Lyra stood on a transport ship heading to Unity Station. This was a large space station where humans and aliens met for trade and diplomacy. She looked out the window at the stars passing by. She was leaving her home world. She might never return. Her 2 servants, Mira and Tev, stood quietly behind her. They had been chosen because they were old and did not talk much. Even they seemed unhappy about this assignment. "Princess," Mira said softly, "do you know anything about this human?" "No," Lyra answered. "I know nothing about him. Humans are strange," Tev said. "They have no natural weapons. Their skin tears easily. They cannot see in the dark or hear high sounds. How did such weak creatures win wars?" Lyra had wondered this too. Humans seemed so fragile compared to other species. Yet they had fought bravely against the Krell. Many humans had died protecting Valorian worlds. The transport ship reached Unity Station after 2 days of travel. Lyra saw the huge structure floating in space. Ships from hundreds of worlds docked there. She felt very small. A human officer met them at the docking bay. He was young, with red hair and many freckles on his face. "Princess Lyra?" he asked. He spoke Valorian poorly, with a strange accent. "Yes," Lyra answered in English. She had studied human languages during her lonely years. She spoke English perfectly. The officer looked surprised. "Oh, you speak English. That is great. I am Lieutenant Sophie Grant. Captain Morrison sent me to bring you to him." Sophie seemed friendly. She smiled easily and talked as they walked through the station. This was different from Valorian formality. Important. Valorians never smiled at defective ones. "Jake is a good man," Sophie said. "A bit rough around the edges, but his heart is in the right place. He did not want this arranged marriage thing, to be honest, but he said if it helps keep peace, he will try." Lyra felt a small relief. At least this human was honest. They reached a meeting room. Sophie opened the door. "Good luck, Princess." Lyra walked inside. A human man stood by the window, looking at the stars. He turned when he heard her enter. Captain Jake Morrison was tall, with dark hair and brown eyes. He wore a blue military uniform with medals on his chest. His face showed he had seen battles. There were small scars and tired lines around his eyes. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then Jake smiled. It was a small, awkward smile. "Princess Lyra. I am Jake Morrison. This is weird, right? Us meeting like this?" Lyra blinked. She had expected formal speeches and ceremonies. She had prepared cold politeness to hide her shame. "Yes," she said carefully. "It is unusual. Look, I know this is some political thing," Jake said. He walked closer but kept a respectful distance. "The brass told me we need this marriage to seal the alliance. Something about Valorian customs requiring family bonds. I am just a pilot. I do not understand all the diplomatic stuff." "I understand," Lyra said. She used her practiced words. "Captain Morrison, I know this arrangement is unusual for both our peoples. I promise I will not be a burden to you." Jake's eyebrows went up. "A burden? You are not a burden. You are a person." He ran his hand through his hair, looking uncomfortable. "This is coming out wrong. What I mean is, I did not ask for an arranged marriage. I am guessing you did not either. But we are stuck with it. So maybe we just try to make the best of it." Lyra stared at him. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. Like, she was normal. Like, her opinion mattered. "You may call me Lyra," she said quietly. "Okay, Lyra. And please, call me Jake. None of this captain stuff, when it is just us." "Jake," Lyra repeated. The name felt strange on her tongue. Jake pulled out a chair for her at the table. "Sit down. I ordered some food. I did not know what Valorians eat. So I got a bunch of different things. Tell me what you like." As Lyra sat down, something unexpected happened. For the first time in many years, she felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe this human would not be cruel to her. Maybe life away from her people would not be so terrible. She did not know yet that this awkward, honest human would change everything. She did not know that the council's cruel joke would become the greatest thing that ever happened to her. For now, she just sat down and tried to smile back at the man who had just called her a person. Lyra's new home was the human ship called Endeavor. It was smaller than Valorian warships, but it felt warmer somehow. The metal walls were painted with colors. There were pictures of Earth places. Someone had even put plants in pots along the hallways. Jake showed her to her quarters on the first day. The room was decent-sized, with a bed, a desk, and a large window showing space outside. "This is your room," Jake said. "Mine is next door if you need anything. The bathroom is through that door. I had the crew set the water temperature controls to what Valorians prefer." Lyra looked around. It was simple but clean. Much smaller than her room back home, but somehow it felt less empty. "Thank you," she said. "The crew wants to meet you at dinner," Jake said. "No pressure if you are tired from travel. But they are curious about you." "I will come," Lyra decided. Hiding in her room would not help anything. That evening, Lyra walked into the dining hall. She wore a simple dress, not her royal robes. The human crew stopped talking when she entered. 5 pairs of eyes stared at her. Lyra's stomach tightened. She was used to stares. Usually, they were full of pity or disgust. But these stares were different. They seemed curious, not mean. "Everyone, this is Lyra," Jake said. "Lyra, this is my crew. You already met Sophie." Sophie waved from her seat. "Hey again. That is Danny Cruz, our engineer." Jake pointed to a young man with dark skin and a bright smile. "Nice to meet you," Danny said cheerfully. "Dr. Lisa Hayes, our medical officer." A woman with blonde hair and kind eyes nodded. "Welcome aboard," Lisa said. And Pete Williams, our navigator. A thin man, with glasses, gave a small wave. "Hi," Pete said shyly. Sit down, Sophie said, pulling out a chair next to her. "We made dinner." Well, Danny made dinner. The rest of us just watched and tried not to break anything. Lyra sat carefully. The food on the table looked strange. Brown meat, green vegetables, some kind of grain. "This is called pot roast," Danny explained. "It is beef, which comes from earth cows. These are carrots and potatoes. And this is rice. I was not sure what you could eat, so I kept it simple." "I can eat most things," Lyra said. She took a small portion of everything. The food tasted different from Valorian cuisine, heavier, with strong flavors, but it was good. "So, Princess," Sophie said. "What is Valoria like?" "We have never been there." Lyra swallowed her food. "Please just call me Lyra, and Valoria is very formal. There are many rules about behavior. Everything is organized by family rank and genetic status." "Genetic status?" Pete asked. Lyra hesitated. Should she tell them? They would find out eventually. "Valorians value the ability to have strong, healthy children above everything else," she said carefully. "Those who cannot have children are considered defective." The table went quiet. "That is messed up," Danny said bluntly. "Danny," Lisa said in a warning tone. "No, it is," Danny insisted. "Judging people on whether they can have kids? That is wrong." Lyra stared at her plate. She felt her face grow warm with shame. "I agree with Danny," Jake said firmly. "That is a messed up way to judge people. What matters is who you are, not your biology." Lyra looked up in surprise. Jake was looking at her with no pity in his eyes, just anger at the system that had hurt her. "Your people did not want me," she said quietly. "That is why they sent me here. I am infertile. In their eyes, I am worthless." "Then their eyes need checking," Sophie said. "Because from where I am sitting, you speak multiple languages. You have been nothing but polite, and you are brave enough to leave your whole world behind. That is not worthless." Lyra felt something warm in her chest. These humans barely knew her. Why were they being kind? "Thank you," she whispered. "Now, eat up," Danny said. "You are too thin. We will fatten you up with good earth food." The conversation moved to other topics. The crew told stories about their missions. They argued about sports teams back on Earth. They made jokes that Lyra did not always understand. But they laughed so much, she found herself smiling too. Over the next weeks, life on the Endeavour became routine. Lyra learned the ship's schedule. She ate meals with the crew. She started to relax. Jake gave her a small lab space when she mentioned she liked studying plants. It was just a converted storage room, but Lyra was thrilled. She ordered seeds and soil samples from different worlds. She spent hours there, working with growing things. One day, Jake came to watch her work. She was carefully grafting 2 different plant species together. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Trying to create a hybrid plant that can grow in low light and high salt environments," Lyra explained. "Many colony worlds have difficult conditions. Better crops could help." Jake watched her skilled hands work. "You are really good at this." "I had a lot of time to practice," Lyra said. "There was not much else to do in my exile." "Tell me about it," Jake said. He pulled up a stool. "Your life before this." Lyra kept working with her plants. It was easier to talk when she did not have to look at him. "I was diagnosed infertile when I was 12, she said. "Before that, I lived in the main palace with my family. I had friends. I was learning to be a proper princess. After the diagnosis, everything changed. They moved me to a small building far from the palace. My family visited less and less. Other Valorians avoided me. I was an embarrassment." "That must have been lonely," Jake said softly. "It was. I spent my time in the library. I learned languages. I studied xenobiology. I grew plants. I told myself it was fine. But it was not fine. No, Jake agreed. It was not fair. They sat in silence for a moment. What about you? Lyra asked. Why did you agree to this marriage? Jake leaned back. Honestly? At first I said no. I did not want some arranged marriage. But my commanding officer explained how important the alliance is. How many lives depend on keeping peace with the Valorian Empire. And I thought, I have given years to fighting wars. Maybe I could give this one thing to building peace. You did not have to be kind to me, though, Lyra said. You could have just ignored me, kept me at a distance. I could have. Jake admitted. But that would make me a jerk. You did not ask for this either. Seemed only fair to try to make it work. Lyra smiled. She was smiling more these days. As more weeks passed, Lyra and Jake spent more time together. They ate breakfast together. Jake started coming to her lab regularly to talk. He told her about Earth, about growing up in a place called Colorado, about his family. Lyra told him about Valorian culture, about the books she had read, about the dreams she had given up. One night, they were both in the observation deck. It was late. The rest of the crew was sleeping. They sat looking at the stars in comfortable silence. Lyra, Jake said, can I ask you something? Yes. Are you happy here? I mean, I know this is not what you wanted. But is it okay? Lyra thought about it. I am happier than I have been in years, she said truthfully. Your crew treats me like a normal person. You treat me like I matter. On Valoria, I was invisible. Here, I am seen, Jake smiled. Good. Because you do matter. A lot, actually. Lyra looked at him. In the starlight, his face was open and honest. Her heart did something strange. A little flip. Jake, she said quietly. Why are you so kind to me? He turned to face her fully. Because you deserve kindness. Because you are smart and funny and interesting. Because when you get excited about your plants, your whole face lights up. Because you are not what your people said you were. You are so much more. Lyra felt tears in her eyes. Happy tears. No one has ever said such things to me before. Then everyone else was blind, Jake said simply. Without thinking, Lyra reached for his hand. He took it, his warm human fingers wrapping around her cooler Valorian ones. They sat like that, holding hands, watching the stars together. Both of them, knowing that something had changed between them. Something real and precious was growing. Like one of Lyra's hybrid plants, it was unexpected. But maybe, just maybe, it would be strong enough to survive. 6 months had passed since Lyra came to live on the Endeavor. In that time, everything had changed. The marriage ceremony happened 3 months ago. It was small and simple. Jake wore his dress uniform. Lyra wore a white dress that Sophie helped her pick out. The crew stood as witnesses. There were no Valorian officials. No fancy speeches. Just honest promises between two people who had grown to care deeply for each other. When Jake promised to stand by her through anything, Lyra believed him. When she promised the same, she meant it with all her heart. Now they shared quarters. They fell asleep talking and woke up together. Jake still made terrible jokes. Lyra still got excited about her plant experiments. They had learned each other's habits and moods. They fit together like pieces of a puzzle. Lyra was happy. Truly, deeply happy. Which was why she felt so scared when things started to feel wrong. It began with tiredness. Lyra had always been energetic, but now she felt exhausted by midday. Then came the nausea. Smells that never bothered her before made her stomach turn. She felt dizzy sometimes. Her body felt strange in ways she could not explain. At first, she ignored it. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe she ate something bad. But after 2 weeks of feeling worse, Jake noticed. "You look pale," he said one morning. "Are you okay?" "I am just tired," Lyra said. "That is it," Jake said firmly. "You are going to Medical Bay. Now." Dr. Lisa Hayes was organizing supplies when they walked in. She took one look at Lyra and pointed to the examination bed. "Sit," Lisa ordered. "Tell me what is wrong." Lyra described her symptoms. Tiredness, nausea, dizziness, strange feelings in her body. Lisa pulled out her medical scanner. "Let me run some tests. This will not hurt." The scanner hummed as it passed over Lyra's body. Lisa watched the screen, her face calm and professional. Then her eyes went wide. She ran the scanner again. Then, a third time. "Lisa?" Jake asked. "What is wrong?" Lisa did not answer. She grabbed a different scanner, a more powerful one. She ran it over Lyra's stomach area very slowly. The color drained from Lisa's face. "I need to run one more test," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Stay still, Lyra." She used a needle to take some blood. She put it in a machine that beeped and whirred. Then she stood there, staring at the results, her mouth open. "Lisa, you are scaring us," Jake said. He moved closer to Lyra, taking her hand. Lisa looked at them both. She seemed like she could not believe what she was about to say. "Lyra, you are pregnant." The words hung in the air. Silence. Then Lyra laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was a shocked, disbelieving laugh. "That is impossible." "That is what I thought," Lisa said. "But I have run the tests 4 times. The results are clear. You are pregnant with twins. About 6 weeks along." "No," Lyra said. She stood up, shaking her head. "No, I cannot be. I am infertile. I was tested many times. This cannot happen." "Let me see the scans," Jake said. His voice was steady, but his hand gripped Lyra's tightly. Lisa turned the screen toward them. Even Lyra, who was not a doctor, could see it. 2 small shapes. 2 tiny heartbeats flickering on the screen. "This is impossible," Lyra whispered. Her legs felt weak. "I do not understand how this happened," Lisa admitted. "Human and Valorian biology should not even be compatible. Our DNA structures are completely different, and yet..." She pointed at the screen. "These are definitely hybrid babies. They have genetic markers from both species." Lyra put her hands on her stomach. It still felt flat, normal. But inside, apparently, 2 impossible lives were growing. "My people tested me," she said. "Multiple doctors, multiple times. They all said the same thing. I could never have children." "Maybe they were wrong," Jake suggested. "Valorian medical technology is very advanced," Lyra said. "They do not make mistakes about this." Lisa sat down, thinking hard. Unless something about human genetics changed the equation. "Let me run some more tests. I need to compare your genetic structure now to what it was before." For the next 3 hours, Lisa ran test after test. She took blood samples, tissue samples, ran scans, checked databases. Jake and Lyra waited, holding hands, not saying much. What could they say? The impossible was happening. Finally, Lisa sat back. She looked exhausted, but excited. "I think I know what happened," she said. "It is complex, but basically, human DNA has something Valorian DNA does not. We call it junk DNA, but it is not really junk. It is adaptive sequences that can interact with other species' genetics in unexpected ways." "Speak in simple words," Jake said. "Right. Sorry." Lisa pulled up images on her screen. "Okay. So Lyra was infertile because certain proteins in her reproductive system were not activating properly. But human genetic material has trigger sequences that somehow turned those proteins on. It is like having a car that will not start because of a dead battery. Human DNA was like jumper cables. It got everything running. But why twins? Lyra asked. That I am not sure about. Maybe the system overcorrected. Maybe hybrid pregnancies default to multiples. I will need to study this more. Tonight self. Tonight is 9. Tonight self. Tonight self-mare. Tonight self-mare. Tonight self. Tonight self-mare. Tonight self-mare. Lyra stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars. Her mind was spinning. She was pregnant. With twins. With human Valorian hybrid babies. Something that should be impossible. What would her people say? What would this mean? Jake came to stand beside her. He put his arm around her shoulders. How do you feel? He asked quietly. Scared. Lyra admitted. Confused. And? She paused. Happy? Is that allowed? Am I allowed to be happy about this? Of course you are. Jake said. He turned her to face him. Lyra, this is amazing. Terrifying. Yes. Complicated. Absolutely. But amazing. My people said I was broken, Lyra said. Tears ran down her face. They said I was defective. Worthless. And now you are proving them wrong. Jake said firmly. He wiped her tears away. You were never broken. They were just looking at you the wrong way. Lyra leaned into him. He held her tight. What do we do? She whispered. First, we make sure you and the babies stay healthy, Jake said. Lisa will take care of that. Second, we prepare. We are going to need baby stuff. 2 of everything, apparently. That made Lyra laugh a little. Third, Jake continued, we decide when to tell people. Because this is going to be big news. He was right. This was not just their personal miracle. This was proof that humans and Valorians could have children together. It would change politics, medicine, everything. Can we keep it secret for a while? Lyra asked. However long you need, Jake promised. Lisa cleared her throat. I need to monitor you closely. Hybrid pregnancies are unknown territory. I want to see you every 3 days for checkups. Okay. And you need to rest more. Eat properly. No stress. I will make sure of it, Jake said. Over the next weeks, they kept the secret. Only Lisa knew. She ran constant tests, documenting everything. The babies were growing normally, developing well. They had strong heartbeats. They seemed healthy. Lyra's body changed slowly. She got a small bump. Her clothes started feeling tight. The nausea passed after a few weeks. She felt the babies move for the first time one night, while lying in bed with Jake. It felt like little flutters inside her. Jake, she whispered, grabbing his hand and putting it on her stomach. Can you feel that? He waited. Then his eyes went wide. Is that them? Yes. They lay there in the dark, feeling their impossible children move. Both of them thinking about what this meant. Both of them, a little scared, but also filled with wonder. We are going to have to tell people soon, Jake said. You are starting to show. I know, Lyra said. And when we do, everything will change. Are you ready? Lyra thought about her people. About the council that had thrown her away. About the doctors who had declared her defective. About everyone who had made her feel worthless. She thought about the life growing inside her. About these 2 tiny miracles that should not exist. Yes, she said. I am ready. Let them see what they said was impossible. Let them see what human kindness and acceptance created. Let them see that I was never broken. They just never looked hard enough. Jake kissed her forehead. That is my girl. In the morning, they would start making plans. They would contact the Valorian Council. They would prepare for the chaos that would follow. But tonight, they just held each other and felt their babies move. Tonight, they were just 2 people who had found each other against all odds, creating something that should not exist but did, creating hope, creating proof that love was stronger than biology, creating the future. The message to the Valorian Council was short and formal. Princess Lyra requested an audience to present important information. She gave no details. She wanted to see their faces when they learned the truth. The council accepted quickly. They probably thought she wanted money or supplies. They had forgotten about her, like they forgot about all things they considered unimportant. The trip to the Valorian homeworld took 3 days. Lyra was 4 months pregnant now. Her belly was clearly round. She could not hide it anymore. Jake stayed close to her the whole journey. So did Lisa, who brought all her medical equipment and research. Sophie, Danny, and Pete came too. They insisted on being there to support Lyra. "You are part of our crew," Sophie said. "We stick together." The Endeavour docked at the orbital station above Valoria. Lyra looked down at her home world through the window. The purple and blue planet looked beautiful from space. She had not seen it in months. Part of her had thought she would never see it again. "Are you nervous?" Jake asked. He stood beside her, holding her hand. "Terrified," Lyra admitted. "They will not believe it at first. They will think it is a trick. Then we show them proof," Jake said. "We have medical scans, genetic tests, everything." Lisa joined them at the window. "I have documented everything. The council's own doctors can verify it all." A Valorian official came to escort them to the planet's surface. He was young, with the traditional silver markings of a government worker. When he saw Lyra's pregnant belly, his eyes went wide. "Princess Lyra?" he said, confused. "Yes," Lyra said calmly. "Please take us to the council chamber." The journey down to the surface was quiet. The official kept glancing at Lyra's stomach. He looked like he wanted to ask questions, but did not dare. The council chamber was exactly as Lyra remembered. Tall crystal walls, floating lights, important Valorians in their fancy robes, sitting in high chairs. In the center was council leader Vex Thar, older now, his silver markings deeper. The council members looked bored as Lyra's group entered. They expected this to be quick, a minor annoyance in their busy day. Then they saw Lyra, saw her pregnant belly. The chamber exploded in shocked whispers. Lyra walked forward slowly. Jake was on her right, Lisa on her left. The rest of the crew followed behind. She wore a traditional Valorian dress, modified to fit her changing body. She held her head high. "Council leader Vex Thar," Lyra said formally. "I come before you to report important medical and diplomatic information." Vex Thar stared at her stomach. "Princess Lyra, you appear to be. That cannot be." "Pregnant?" Lyra finished. "Yes, council leader. I am 4 months pregnant with twins." The council chamber erupted. Council members stood up. Some shouted. Some just stared in shock. "Impossible," shouted Councilmember Zara. "You are infertile. This must be a trick." "It is not a trick," Lyra said calmly. "Dr. Lisa Hayes has complete medical documentation. Your own doctors may examine me if you wish." "This is a deception," another council member yelled. "Some human trick." Jake stepped forward. His voice was firm and clear. "With respect, this is no trick. We have genetic scans, tissue samples, blood work, everything. Dr. Hayes has spent months documenting this pregnancy. You can verify every piece of data." Vex Thar held up his hand for silence. The chamber quieted. He stared at Lyra with a complex expression. Shock, confusion, and maybe fear. "You are claiming to carry hybrid children?" he asked slowly. "I am not claiming it," Lyra said. "I am stating a fact. I carry 2 hybrid babies, both human and Valorian. They are healthy and developing normally." "Bring your evidence," Vex Thar commanded. Lisa stepped forward. She connected her datapad to the chamber's main display. Medical scans appeared on the giant screens for everyone to see. Images of 2 babies growing in Lyra's womb. Genetic sequences showing clear markers from both species. Test results, proving the pregnancy was real. The council members stared at the screens in stunned silence. "I do not understand," Vexthar said quietly. "You were tested. Multiple times. Multiple doctors agreed. You could never conceive." "That was according to Valorian medical standards," Lisa explained. "But human genetics work differently. We have adaptive sequences in our DNA that apparently can interact with Valorian biology in unexpected ways. In simple terms, human genetic material activated systems in Princess Lyra's body that were dormant. The pregnancy became possible." "Show me the genetic sequences," demanded a council member who was also a doctor. Lisa displayed the complex data. The doctor studied it carefully. His face went from skeptical to amazed to completely shocked. "It is real," he whispered. "This is actually real." The council chamber erupted again, this time not in anger, but in excited confusion. Questions flew from every direction. How is this possible? Are the babies healthy? Can this be replicated? What does this mean for our species? Vexthar banged his staff on the floor. The chamber quieted again. "Princess Lyra," he said. His voice was different now, almost respectful. "This is extraordinary. If what you present is true, it changes everything we thought we knew." "It is true," Lyra said. "Your doctors may examine me. Run your own tests. You will find the same results." "We will," Vexthar said. He gestured to the medical council member. "Dr. Kell, assemble a team. Examine Princess Lyra immediately. I want full verification." For the next 3 days, Valorian doctors ran tests. They used their most advanced equipment. They checked every scan, every gene sequence, every bit of data. Lisa stayed with them, explaining her findings, answering questions. Lyra submitted to all of it. She let them scan her, take samples, run their tests. Jake never left her side. He held her hand through the long examinations. He glared at any doctor who seemed too rough or disrespectful. The Endeavor crew stayed at a government facility. They were treated like important guests now. The Valorians brought them good food, comfortable rooms, everything they needed. It was very different from the cold dismissal when Lyra first left. On the 3rd day, Dr. Kell presented his findings to the council. Lyra and her group were called to hear the official verdict. The council chamber was packed. Word had spread about the impossible pregnancy. Everyone wanted to hear the truth. Dr. Kell stood before the council, looking tired but amazed. "Council leader," he began. "After 3 days of intensive testing, I can confirm that Princess Lyra is indeed pregnant with hybrid twins. The pregnancy is real, healthy, and developing normally. The genetic analysis confirms both human and Valorian markers in the fetuses." Silence. Then Vexthar stood. He looked at Lyra directly. "Princess Lyra," he said, "I must apologize." Those words shocked everyone. "We sent you away believing you were defective," Vexthar continued. "We treated you as worthless. We made jokes about sending you to the humans as if you were a burden we were passing along. We were wrong. Deeply, shamefully wrong." Lyra felt tears in her eyes. She had not expected an apology. "You were not defective," Vexthar said. "We were simply too limited in our understanding. You have done something no Valorian has ever done. You have proven that our species can have children with humans. This opens possibilities we never imagined." Councilmember Zara stood next. "Princess Lyra, on behalf of the council, I too apologize. We judged you by standards that were incomplete. You have brought honor to our people, not shame." One by one, other council members stood and spoke. Some apologized. Some asked questions about the pregnancy. Some wanted to know if other infertile Valorians might also be able to conceive with human partners. Through it all, Lyra stood straight and proud. Jake's hand was in hers. Her crew stood behind her like a wall of support. When the council finished speaking, Lyra spoke. "I accept your apologies," she said. "But I want you to understand something. This did not happen Because of Valorian medicine or culture. This happened because Captain Jake Morrison treated me like a person, not a defect. This happened because humans value people for who they are, not just for their biology. This happened because I was finally in a place where I was allowed to be whole. She looked around the chamber at all the important faces. There are other Valorians like me, she continued. Others you have cast aside, because they cannot have children the traditional way. I want you to think about them. About what you might be losing by judging people so harshly. Vexthar nodded slowly. Your words are wise, Princess. Perhaps it is time for our culture to evolve. The official meeting ended. But the real work was just beginning. Valorian doctors wanted to study the pregnancy more. They wanted to see if the same process could work for others. They wanted to establish medical exchanges with human doctors. Politicians wanted to strengthen the alliance with Earth. They suddenly saw humans as much more valuable partners. And Lyra? She was suddenly important, respected, honored. But as she left the council chamber with Jake and her crew, she did not feel triumphant. She felt tired and ready to go home. Not to Valoria, to the Endeavor, to the ship where people had seen her worth from the beginning. The birth happened on Unity Station, in a special medical wing set up for the occasion. It was attended by doctors from both Earth and Valoria. News crews waited outside. Politicians from a dozen worlds sent messages of congratulations before the babies were even born. But in the delivery room, it was just Lyra, Jake, and Dr. Lisa Hayes. Labor was hard. Lyra was in pain for hours. Jake held her hand through all of it, whispering encouragement, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth. Lisa monitored everything carefully, ready to intervene if needed. Finally, after 14 hours, the first baby was born. It is a boy, Lisa announced, holding up a squirming, crying infant. He had dark hair like his father, and skin that was a soft purple-pink blend. When he opened his eyes, they were brown like Jake's, but with silver flecks like Lyra's people. Connor, Lyra said through her tears. They had chosen the name weeks ago. His name is Connor. 20 minutes later, his sister followed. A girl, Lisa said, laughing with joy. She had silver-white hair like her mother, and skin that was peach-colored with violet undertones. Her eyes, when she opened them, were fully violet but shaped like human eyes. Kira, Jake said softly. Hello, Kira. Both babies were healthy. They cried loudly, announcing themselves to the universe. Lisa cleaned them and checked them carefully. Everything was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes each, strong heartbeats, good lungs. Jake held Connor while Lyra held Kira. They looked at their children with wonder and exhaustion and overwhelming love. We made them, Lyra whispered. We actually made them. You made them, Jake corrected. I just helped a little. A little? Lyra laughed tiredly. The door opened. Sophie, Danny, and Pete crowded in, trying to be quiet, but too excited to really manage it. Can we see them? Sophie whispered. Come, Lyra said. The crew gathered around, staring at the babies with amazed faces. They are so tiny, Danny said. They are perfect, Pete added. Can I hold one? Sophie asked hopefully. Jake carefully passed Connor to her. Sophie held the baby like he was made of glass, her face soft with wonder. Hi, little guy, she whispered. I am your Aunt Sophie. I am going to teach you so many things. Like what? Danny asked. How to be annoying. How to fly ships. Sophie said. And yes, also, how to be annoying. Everyone laughed softly. Outside the medical wing, the universe was reacting to the news. The first human Valorian children had been born. They were healthy. They were proof that two species could create life together. The Valorian Council released a formal statement. They called it a new era of cooperation. They apologized again, publicly this time, for their treatment of Princess Lyra. Earth's government was thrilled. Suddenly, the alliance with the Valorian Empire was stronger than ever. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges were planned. Everything was moving fast. But in the medical wing, time moved slowly. Lyra and Jake learned how to feed the twins, how to change diapers, how to tell their cries apart. Connor was louder and hungrier. Kira was calmer but more stubborn about sleeping. Lisa stayed close, monitoring both babies carefully. She documented everything for medical records. These babies were unique, and she wanted to understand how their hybrid biology worked. They have the best of both species, she told Lyra one day. Valorian resistance to disease, human adaptability. Their immune systems are remarkable. 2 weeks after the birth, Lyra got a message. It was from a Valorian woman she had never met. Princess Lyra, the message said. My name is Vara. I am also infertile. Like you were. I saw your story. I saw your babies. Is it possible? Could I also? Lyra showed the message to Jake and Lisa. She wants to know if she can have children too, Lyra said softly. Possibly, Lisa said. If her infertility is similar to yours, human genetics might help. We would need to test her, study her biology. But maybe, too, there will be more messages like this, Jake said. He was right. Over the next weeks, dozens of messages came. Infertile Valorians, reaching out with hope. Humans interested in Valorian partners. Scientists, wanting to study the phenomenon. Lyra answered each message personally. She shared her story. She offered hope, but also honesty. She explained that every case was different. Not everyone would be able to conceive, but some could. Lisa began working with Valorian doctors. They started a research program. Within 6 months, 3 more infertile Valorians had conceived with human partners. The universe was changing. 3 years passed. Connor and Kira grew fast. They were happy, healthy children who looked like perfect blends of their parents. Connor had Jake's smile and Lyra's careful way of thinking. Kira had Lyra's curiosity and Jake's fearless attitude. They lived on Unity Station now, in a larger apartment that was always full of toys and laughter. Jake still worked with the defense fleet, but took fewer long missions. Lyra had her own research lab, where she continued her plant studies. She also worked as an advisor for cross-species medical programs. The Endeavour crew visited often. Sophie brought toys every time. Danny taught Connor about engines. Pete let Kira sit on his lap during navigation lessons. Lisa was officially the twins' godmother and took the job seriously. On the twins' 3rd birthday, there was a big party. Humans and Valorians mixed freely now. Children from both species played together. The walls that had once separated the cultures were breaking down. Lyra watched her children play with their friends. A human boy, a Valorian girl, a hybrid like themselves. All of them just kids, not caring about species or genetics. Jake came to stand beside her. He put his arm around her waist. Happy? He asked. Very, Lyra said. Sometimes I cannot believe this is my life. Believe it, Jake said. You earned it. Lyra leaned against him. Do you ever think about what would have happened if your leaders had said no to the marriage? If you had refused? If you had refused. Sometimes, Jake admitted. But then I look at Connor and Kira, and I cannot imagine a universe where they do not exist. So, I am glad I said yes. Best decision I ever made. Even though it was supposed to be a joke? Lyra asked. Joke's on them, Jake said. They tried to get rid of you. And instead, you changed 2 civilizations. You proved their whole culture wrong. You showed that the things they valued were wrong things to value. Lyra smiled. We did that. Together. Together, Jake agreed. Across the party, Council Leader Vexthar was talking with Earth's ambassador. The old Valorian looked different now. Humbler. He had visited several times over the years. Always apologetic. Always trying to make amends for the past. He saw Lyra watching him. He nodded respectfully. She nodded back. The relationship would never be simple. But it was better. Growing, changing. Kira ran up to them, her silver hair flying. They followed their daughter to a table covered in art supplies. She had drawn a picture of their family. 4 figures holding hands. 2 were purple. 2 were pink-purple blends. Above them she had drawn stars. "We are a space family," Kira explained seriously. "We go everywhere together." "That is beautiful, sweetheart," Lyra said, picking up her daughter. Connor joined them, holding a toy spaceship. "When I grow up, I want to fly ships like Papa." "You can do anything you want," Jake told him. "Both of you can. That is what being human and Valorian means. You get to choose your own path." As the party continued, Lyra held her daughter and watched her son play. She thought about the lonely girl she had been. Hidden away. Called defective. Told she was worthless. That girl had been sent away as a joke. As an insult. As something to discard. But that girl had found love. Had found acceptance. Had found a human who saw worth in her when her own people could not. And that girl had proved everyone wrong. Not by changing herself, but by being valued for exactly who she was. Now she had a family. A real one. Built on love, not genetics. Built on respect, not biology. Her children would grow up in a different universe than she had known. One where human Valorian families were normal. Where infertility was not a curse. Where people were valued for themselves. "Mama, you are crying," Kira said, touching Lyra's face. "Happy tears," Lyra explained. "Sometimes people cry when they are very happy." "I want to be very happy too," Kira declared. "You will be," Lyra promised. "You have your whole life ahead of you. You can be anything. Do anything. The universe is open to you in ways it never was to me." That night, after the party ended and the children were asleep, Lyra and Jake stood in their quarters looking at the stars. "Do you think they will remember?" Lyra asked. "Connor and Kira. Will they remember that I was once called defective? That this all started as a joke? Maybe," Jake said. "But they will also know that you turned that joke into something beautiful. They will know that you are strong and brave, and that you changed the world." "We changed the world," Lyra corrected. "Okay, we changed the world," Jake agreed. "But you were the catalyst. You were the one who refused to believe what everyone told you. You were the one who stayed strong." Lyra turned to face him. "No. I was ready to accept what they told me. That I was worthless. That I would always be alone. You were the one who saw something different. You treated me like I mattered before you had any reason to. You gave me hope." Unquote. Ground. "Then we saved each other," Jake said simply. They stood together, looking at the stars, thinking about the impossible journey that had brought them here. Somewhere in the universe, the Valorian Council that had laughed about sending away the defective princess probably still thought about it sometimes. Probably wondered how their joke had become the most important event in modern history. And somewhere, another infertile Valorian was probably reading Lyra's story. Probably finding hope. Probably realizing that broken was just a word that people used when they did not understand value. The universe was bigger now, more connected, more hopeful, all because they thought sending the infertile alien princess to a human was a joke, until she returned with twins, a revolution, and proof that love and acceptance could create miracles.